When it comes to choosing tech products, there are so many choices out there. Today, we're going to talk specifically about Wi-Fi choices, and this is a common question that comes up. Now, Meraki, the big juggernaut in the market, the Cisco company. Everyone knows Cisco. They're the current version of IBM, where IBM's slogan used to be, nobody got fired for buying IBM, and kind of that same mentality is applied to Cisco Meraki. Not saying they don't make a good product, but we're just going to talk about a comparison of the products that Meraki offers in terms of Wi-Fi deployment and the products that UniFi offers. And you may already know I'm biased towards UniFi. So my goal here is not to add my bias to this, but just to present some of the facts and talk about some of the features of these devices and what the differences are. Now, I did some testing the other day and I reviewed the MR33. The MR33, my opinion of it is I think it's a good product. I don't think there's anything I found really wrong with it. I did a head-to-head comparison with the MR33 and a UniFi UAP HD, just doing some general speed testing and things like that. I find them both to work quite well. Now, there are some differences between them, I understand. The UAP HD is a higher end model, and technically, if you're going to use a UAP HD, comparing it to a Cisco Meraki, I should be comparing it to something like their MR52, which has a 4x4 MIMO versus the 2x2 MIMO in the MR33, but I don't have one of those handy. But most of the main differences between these other devices as you go up has a lot to do with density and how many devices can be attached to them. And I don't have any easy way at the moment, but I'm working on ideas to test connecting, like 50 devices at a time, 20 devices at a time, and doing some comparative testing. But that is where some of these vary greatly. Now, the UniFi is claiming 500 plus users on the UAP HD. Now, the reason why is because it has dual 2.4 and dual 5 gigahertz antennas. This allows a lot more users to connect, and it's the 4x4 MIMO, so you get a higher aggregate speed. Plus, it has the dual network interfaces that can be lagged together in order to bond more bandwidth through at the network interface level. And the same thing with Meraki. The MR33 doesn't support it. You got to go down to the MR52, which once again, once you start getting the 4x4 MIMO and more antennas, you end up with the ability with the 2 times gigabit network interfaces, so you can aggregate that bandwidth, which of course makes a lot more sense to do that. Because once you have a lot of high density clients connected that need high speed, the limitation starts to become the network interface. Now, where the huge difference between Cisco versus Meraki come in is first, pricing. Now, price is not everything. We're going to go over here to the Meraki cost calculator here, and we'll talk about a 10 access point deployment. So if I choose the MR53E, which is right here, or maybe we just want the MR53. I'm not sure the difference between them. Recommended for high density. Okay, high density versus focus coverage. So MR53, we'll say high density here. 10 of them is going to be $18.49, including a 1-year license. Now, after that, each one of these, so 10 devices times 150, $1,500 a year annual license to keep these units turned on. It's not like you're not getting anything for that $150 license fee that they have. And I know the license fee goes down as you scale. You have to contact Meraki sales. So also, apparently your pricing isn't as easy to figure out. You have to either contact a dealer, a sales rep, get a quote to contact them, and, talk to a salesperson, fill everything out. You go through the usual corporate rigmarole, so pricing doesn't become as easy as it is with UniFi, where you just buy the product and get the software. But that dashboard does have a lot of features. Layer 7 filtering. I covered a lot of the features in my MR33 review, which I'll leave a link below. So you get a great dashboard with a ton of wonderful features, but you're always paying for it. And you're subject and beholden to Meraki and their business model. So if Meraki says we're raising prices, you're paying more, because the consequence of not paying Meraki's continual dashboard fee is a unit that does not work anymore. These units don't have any type of management at all. They are designed to go and talk to Meraki, and you are subject to how Meraki wants to do their business. So if Meraki makes any decisions that change the way they do things, you are then subject to those changes. No options. Now, UniFi does things a little bit different. And UniFi has a software controller that you can either A, buy one of the UniFi devices to run the software controller on, or B, if you have any servers at all in your network environment, or you even want to run it on a small server, a virtual server with only 2 gigs of RAM, it's a pretty lightweight controller that will manage hundreds of these UniFi APHDs. Matter of fact, it'll even manage them across sites. So they're not just the one site. We host the controller, and it's got the ability to host multi-sites. The controller dashboard is really nice. No, it doesn't have layer 7 amazing filtering built into the Wi-Fi, but technically the Meraki, it's not built into the Wi-Fi. It's using the device's functions controlled by the cloud controller to communicate all those functions to it. So it's a different type of business model, but it also gets very expensive. And I bring this up because we are working with more than one place right now to remove Meraki or proposals to do so, and we work with one client that has moved over from it because they were realizing that their license fees were getting kind of high, and they're sitting there going, that just seems like a lot. Now the former CFO, he's a bean counter, so he sees these costs and put pressure on them, but they were being justified. Well, we get support, and they're like, when was the last time you called support? And they're like, we have never called support. They're like, well, that's cool, and because people complain, go, oh no, UniFi doesn't have super fast support. But I gotta admit, and granted, I'm the UniFi guy who does a lot of videos on it, so I'm very knowledgeable about the product. But a lot of these Wi-Fis, once you have them configured and deployed, done. So this 24/7 support is cool that they offer, but honestly, when you have a deployment that works, it's great to have support, but it's also how much support do you need? How often are you messing with your Wi-Fis? So weigh that out. Do you need that support? Once these are generally deployed in an office, and unless you have any complicated, unusual environments, there's not a ton of things that need to be done differently on them. So weigh that out there. Weigh out if you need the layer 7 application filtering, or do you just have a firewall that does it? And I'll mention that because we deal with that with the schools, and the schools have firewalls that manage all the other features for them. So the Meraki features are not even using. So that's one of the reasons they're looking at it. The other problem you run into is as you gain in density, the price keeps going at the same rate. So you're like, wow, this gets expensive very quickly. Now the base price alone for these, if you look at this MR53, we'll put a quantity of 1, $1849 is once you're including the license. We have a client with 270 units. 270 units. And if they go Meraki, they would be looking at, and let's just say, because someone told me, and I don't quote me on this because you have to get a quote from them to find out, that if you get that level of them, that Meraki will lower the licensing fees to about $100 a month. Okay, $27,000 a year to keep these access points running with a guest network on them. That's pretty much what this is. It's a large deployment across several campuses that just need a private network and a guest network. It's a pretty simple setup. And, we're updating them to a newer version. They actually have UniFis now, and they're looking at a newer UniFi's deployment. But, of course, they're doing due diligence, and someone in the meeting says, hey, why not those Merakis? And people look at them and go, because it's $27,000 a year. We got to find out subjectively what the price is to get an exact quote. But if you calculated it at 270 devices times 150, let's figure that out. That would be about $40,500 a year at the full 150 price. I'll assume Meraki gets a discount. But what if Meraki changes their mind? What if Meraki goes, you know what? Next year we're charging $170 a license. Well, then your price goes up again. And before someone screams Meraki wouldn't do that, we've already seen Meraki modify the agreement and cut channel partners out. And there's an entire discussion on Reddit about this, other people chiming in. And I've already seen comments on my MR33 review for people saying the same thing. Oh, yeah, they screwed over us channel partners. I've had people message me about it. And what Meraki decided to do was normally if I sold you the Meraki, I get a cut of those fees because that's how Meraki built their business is they sell you the license fees with an annual cost. And then the person that sold to you, they get a cut of that annual cost. Then when you decide it's too much money, you want a discount, Meraki's answer for a discount was, well, just cut out those IT people. What do they do anyways? They just sold our product and put it in there. So that comes down to reputation of the company. You don't know. You're beholden to the way they do things. This is the downside of when you subject yourself to something that is completely outside of your control. So like I said, I don't think it's a bad physical product, but I question a lot when you start looking at the way and methodology that works, and other companies have some of the same policies. This isn't just Meraki. This isn't unique to them. My business model that I prefer, that I'm more comfortable with, is where you maybe buy a product and there's a extra service that you can pay for, but if you don't pay for the service, you may lose that feature. For example, if you need certain updated rules, like with Snort and Suricata or some of your, intrusion detection system rules, you pay a fee to get those rules. When you don't pay the fee, your firewall doesn't turn off. The firewall simply doesn't get the rules anymore. That's fine. You're trading value. You understand that it takes people and manpower to put those rules together and keep that information up to date. And for your system to get access to those rules comes at a fee. Completely a sensible business model. But for the UniFi devices, that's no problem. You just, you get the UniFi controller software. If something or UniFi decided later they're going to charge it, you still have the current version and you can make a decision further out. And I can't imagine at all UniFi would do that. And what if the horrific happens? Something happens to UniFi where they decide not to be a company anymore and making Wi-Fi devices. Your devices don't turn off. They keep working because you have the controller. You're in control of these units. Also, you can, there are third-party firmwares people have loaded on these, so they're hackable. And I know so are some of the Cisco Merakis too. So there's other options, but those are really crazy options. They're not the same as being able to come in here and go, hey, let's, have total control of our network. And one of the network things that we are looking at, a client is very cloud adverse because they're a government contractor. They don't like the idea of everything going to some mystical cloud controller, as the guy put it. They want to keep everything in-house. Well, not an option with the Cisco Meraki. If you want to keep it all in-house, the way UniFi works, you can have the controller in-house and you can keep it locked down so nothing leaves your network that you didn't want to. So there's no external controller. So you've now brought that all in-house and you manage it internally without some external potential issues, and that was their concern. I'm not saying Meraki's not trustworthy. They seem to be a very trustworthy company in terms of security. Cisco does have a good reputation, but that is a genuine concern that's going to be had there because all the data goes up to Meraki for the filtering, for everything else, goes through their dashboard. Like I said, I'm sure trustworthy, but there is one more aspect, and for government contractors, they're trying to control all aspects as best as possible, or at least the ones that care are. There's plenty of them that are in the news that clearly we're not thinking that way. That's a whole different topic. So those are my general thoughts on Cisco versus Meraki. I don't think the Merakis are a bad product, but I do like the UniFi much better. I think they just have a better product lineup. I have been really happy with the deployments, and so have many other people. You can check in the forums and see this is not news. UniFi versus Meraki is a constant debate. I'm leaning towards the UniFi, but we do have systems we've seen with Meraki, and it's working well. And like the school system uses it, and they like it. They don't have any problems with it. They have a budget for it, so they keep using it. I think there's probably some school discount they're getting. I don't do their billing. We're outside contracted IT for certain aspects of the school. We don't handle their Wi-Fi. They have a pretty big deployment across 3 campuses. They think it's pretty trouble-free, but oddly, they're also not using all the features of it because they have their own filtering that they get through the school district itself and another tool they're using. So it works. They're happy, and that's not bad. So those are my thoughts. Thanks. Hopefully this was helpful, or at least gave you a little bit more information to go on when you're trying to make these decisions. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, go ahead and click the thumbs up. Leave us some feedback below to let us know any details, what you like and didn't like as well, because we love hearing the feedback. Or if you just want to say thanks, leave a comment. If you want to be notified of new videos as they come out, go ahead and hit the subscribe and the bell icon. That lets YouTube know that you're interested in notifications. Hopefully they send them, as we've learned with YouTube. Anyways, if you want to contract us for consulting services, you go ahead and hit launchsystems.com, and you can reach out to us for all the projects that we can do and help you. We work with a lot of small businesses, IT companies, even some large companies, and you can farm different work out to us or just hire us as a consultant to help design your network. Also, if you want to help the channel in other ways, we have a Patreon. We have affiliate links. You'll find them in the description. You'll also find recommendations to other affiliate links and things you can sign up for on launchsystems.com. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.